I am building a productivity app. It's just a basic checklist. This is something that I've been working on for all of January, a little bit into December, to be honest, and I'll continue to work on this and iterate for the next couple of months. I took a lot of inspiration from things like HabitKit or Finch or Habitica was one that I used when I was real young. Basically, the idea behind these are to break down tasks into achievable goals and get rewarded for them, or get that little boost of dopamine when you complete them. And when I started on this, I started actually a couple months ago first. Not even a couple months ago, for a month or two stint, like mid 2024, I did a lot of planning and started doing some database work on it, and I got something super basic, but I never ended up finishing it. So this iteration, this time around, I started from scratch, deleted everything, and it's looking good. I built the basic application, like the most minimum viable product, with this library I've used before called Streamlit. There were a bunch of community components that helped me out. The to-do piece of it is from this community submitted component called Streamlit Extras, and it offers a bunch of different things, but the one that I used was the to-do, so you could tick things off, and I used that in conjunction with Streamlit Forms to create the questions and give some idea of like the structure. You add a to-do item, it would populate the list underneath, and that's the basic functionality. When you would refresh it, it wouldn't save these actually, so you could go and check a list off and refresh and lose like half of the items. So as a user, I did not like that. I wanted you to have the ability to save these things, so I looked into user authentication and saving these to a Mongo database. Documents work really well just because they have they're not as structured as like a SQL database or MySQL database, and so I started iterating on that and giving that some flesh. There was another community component called Streamlit Authenticator, which I used to log in, and that was a good part. You could log in and save your to-dos. I wanted it so that you didn't have to be a user to log in. Like, you didn't have to log in to create your to-do items. So that's something that I changed. It would go away on refresh. If you refresh the page, it doesn't actually maintain those to-dos like before, but it's an option if you didn't want to create an account and all that jazz. The downsides with Streamlit and Streamlit authentication is honestly the Streamlit application. The front end was very sticky. It felt very sticky to add things. There was a little bit of a delay to cross things off, to tick them off. There was a little bit of delay there, and then even when you're loading the web page and all of this, it wouldn't look very nice or feel very nice as a user. the interface was just, I described it as sticky. So that was a problem. Another problem was just the database. Like it wasn't very, how do I say this? It wasn't very efficient how the documents were being created. Had a list of booleans and a list of the actual to-do items, and they would associate one to one. So list item 1 would be true, and that would mean it's crossed off from list 2, you know. The last thing that was an issue for me was the authenticator just saved the user details in a YAML file, just like on the local machine. So for future proofing, you know, like if I want to iterate and build more onto this idea, it's not gonna fly. If you get access to the server, your whole application goes down. But that's it for now. I'll talk about the next stage in a bit. After the Streamlit application, I thought that a lot of these upgrades would be future-proofing. So I was exposed to Fast API in the past, and I've dipped my toes in. I'm working on a project with it other than this, and I decided to go and use that for this. So I completely ripped up the Streamlit front end. I'll have to build out a new front end, but I created the Fast API endpoints. At first I created, it was like one list per user, and each to-do that you would create would go into that user list. I feel like the user will want the ability to have multiple lists, so I went ahead and created that functionality. It's still working. There are a lot of internal server errors, but I'm going through that right now. In February, I want to complete the user list implementation, get those endpoints working. I need to clean up the MongoDB tables so that there are no remnants from like old versions of this application. And lastly, I want to be able to put together a front end. I've been saying that I don't know what front end that'll be, but I'm thinking some JS TypeScript type thing. I know Shad CN is a good UI, and I think I want to learn how to use that. It'll give me a little bit more familiarity in the JavaScript TypeScript world. And yeah, beyond that, I want to be able to deploy this so I can use it as a user and see how it works, test it, be able to let me know, or I'll be able to use it and let myself know, even if it breaks, if it works, you know, figure that out. But that's all for January. See you guys in February.